Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Bujin deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this because this deck actually just got some amazing new support, and it actually just turned the entire deck on its head and is just absolutely different than it used to be. And I'm really excited for the changes that they've made for this deck because it's really consistent now and it really has some insane OTK potential, which is a little bit different than the deck used to function like, because the deck used to function like a control-based deck until finally you punched for a game, but now it's like really interesting the way that the deck plays. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name searched for a single video, getting a signed card in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 of the new Bujin. Trifoon. Trifoon is really good. I really love this card and what it does for the deck. It single-handedly was released and became the new staple of the deck of the 3 of. And what this card does is you tribute this card to special summon any 2 Bujin monsters from your deck with 2 different types from your deck in defense position. Now wait a minute. You can just tribute this card and instantly get any 2 Bujins from the deck. Absolutely yes, you can. They just have to be different types. That's crazy. This card is probably some of the most insane support that I have seen in a long time for a deck, and is the right way to do legacy support. And what this card does also is you special summon the defense position, and you can't special summon another copy of this card. And then when you XZ summon a Bujin XZ monster, while this card's in the graveyard, you can equip this card to it, and any monster destroyed by battle with the equipped Bujin monster is banished, and you only use effect of this card once per turn. What? This card is literally one of the most busted cards out of the entire Lightning Overdrive set. Like, I read this card and was like, this card is an instant 3 of and is literally the best card in the entire Bujin archetype now. So you have to play it at 3. We then play 3 of the new Bujin card that looks exactly like Maximilian Pegasus from the original series. I love the way the art style of this deck goes. But what this card does is you send one other Bujin card from your hand to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand, and you can activate one of these effects to send a Bujin monster from your hand to the graveyard, to add a Bujin monster with a different name from your graveyard to your hand, so it lets you switch them out, which is pretty good, or banish a Bujin monster in your graveyard to send a Bujin monster with a different name from your deck to the graveyard. So again, it kind of lets you move cards around, which is really good, and it's a free special summon just by sending a Bujin from your hand to the graveyard, so it can help you out a lot to get an additional monster to make XZ plays. We then play just one Yamato. I never thought I would see the day that I would just play Yamato outside of a list putting it at 1, but one Yamato. Yamato has the ability that you can once per turn during your end phase, you can add a Bujin monster from your deck to your hand, and then send one card from your hand to the graveyard. So the interesting thing about Yamato is this card just completely outclasses it, which is sad. But Yamato is a one of now, because, I mean, you can even drop Yamato altogether. I still like to play 1 in my build, but from playtesting, this card is just kind of slow compared to the new cards, and you just want to play it at 1 now, so that's pretty much all you do. We then play 2 copies of Arasuta. Arasuta is awesome. I love the artwork of this card. It has the ability that if a Bujin monster is in your graveyard or face on your side of the field, is banished except during the damage step, then you can instantly special summon this card from your hand, and then in face of defense position, and then once per turn during the end phase, if a Bujin card is added from your deck to your hand this turn, except by drawing it while you control this face-up card, you can draw a card and then discard a card, and you can only control 1 copy of this card. We then play 2 copies of Harume. Harume can banish a card from the graveyard to instantly special summon it that's a Bujin monster, and then it's really good just to give you as an additional extender, and it's a 2000 beat stick as well. We then play 2 copies of Bujin Haruko. Haruko is also really good as a 2 of. Its pendulum effect is where it's at, because it has the ability that you can banish this card from your pendulum zone to target a Bujin XZ monster you control, special summon this card from your extra deck, or special summon from your extra deck 1 Bujin XZ monster with a different name, using that monster as a material, and you cannot special monsters for the rest of the turn except for XZ monster, and you can this special summon is treated as an XZ summon. XZ materials attached to that monster become attached to the other monster. You can still special summon whatever you want, but you only really XZ summon this deck anyways. We then play 3 Crane. Crane is really good because it has the ability that during the damage calculation in either player's turn, if a beast, a warrior, Bujin monster you control battles, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to double the attack of your Bujin monster, which is pretty good. We then play a single copy of Quillin. Quillin has a really neat effect that you can, if you control a Beast Warrior Bujin monster, then you can banish this card from the graveyard and then target one face-up card your opponent controls and destroy it, which is, again, a really good effect. We play a single copy of Turtle. Turtle has the ability that during either player's turn, when this card or when a card effect is activated that targets a Bujin monster you control, then you banish this card from the graveyard and negate the effect. We play a single copy of Hair. Hair has the ability that during either player's turn, you can banish this card from the graveyard and then target a Beast Warrior type monster or Bujin monster you control. And then once during this turn, if that monster be destroyed by battle by card effect, it is not destroyed by that effect. We play a single copy of Yugioh. Yugioh is also a really neat card. I thought about dropping the Yugioh, but I still like it as a one-of because it has a really neat effect that during either player's damage step, if a Beast Warrior type Bujin monster you control battles an opponent's monster, you can banish this card from the graveyard. That monster you control gains attack equal to the current attack of the opponent's monster. It's battling until the end of the damage step, and if it does, all battle damage your opponent takes from that battle is halved, which is fine because basically it lets you walk through an opponent's monster. We then play a single copy of Centipede. Centipede is basically MST because if you control a Beast Warrior type Bujin monster, you can banish this card from the graveyard, then target a spell or trap your opponent controls and destroy that target. So that's a really neat thing about this deck is you basically play Wing Beast, Beast Warriors, and Beasts. So your copy of Typhoon just comes in really, really like nice because you have 3 different types that you can actually special summon off of it. So that's it for the Bujin monsters. Let's get into the hand traps. So for the hand traps, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Ash, kind of like normal. 3 Ash is just really good because it helps you stop your opponent from touching the deck and is just an overall really powerful hand trap in this particular deck to be able to just stop your opponent. We play 3 copies of Nibiru because if you're going to want to go second in this deck because you're going to want to set up field. And so Nibiru comes in really handy because it is an OTK based deck now. So the Nibiru just helps you give it to your opponent when they special summon 5 times during their turn, and then you give them a token and you get to keep the Nibiru, which helps you a little bit with an additional OTK piece. And then we play 3 copies of Gamma, which Gamma helps out a lot to be able to stop hand traps, because if you tribute Typhoon, then you can immediately special summon this to your side of the field if they try and ash you, and then special summon out a copy of Driver to back it up, which is helpful in this deck to be able to just stop your opponent from going in against you and stopping your play, because you have to get Typhoon's effect to go off, which is really important for this deck. So that's pretty much it for your hand traps. I will mention, you guys, I'm not currently playing, because it's such an OTK based deck. When we get to the extra deck, you're going to notice this. I'm not playing Omega, which usually I'm like, I've got to play Omega in a deck that I'm playing the Psyframe package, but the extra deck is really tight, and so I didn't actually play Omega. You can if you want to, but you kind of just use this to stop your opponent because you're just trying to OTK as fast as possible. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, you're only playing a couple spells. So we're playing a single copy of Feather Duster just to kind of board wipe your opponent's back row because you don't want to deal with back row. 1 copy of Call by the Grave. Same kind of thing as Gamma. It's just like additional Call by the Graves with the Gammas. You play a single copy of Monster Reborn as an extender for the deck. 1 copy of Bujin Carnation. Bujin Carnation is if your opponent controls a monster and you control no monsters, you can target a Bujin monster in your graveyard and one of your banished Bujin monsters and special summon both of those targets. And they can't be used as XYZ material except for the XZ summon of a Beast Warrior or Wing Beast type monster, which is really not that bad because you're kind of just trying to throw them on the field to go into a copy of Susano, which is really, really important. We play a single copy of Double or Nothing. The Double or Nothing comes in really, really handy in this deck because the Double or Nothing is basically going to help you go into a Utopia Double, because the Utopia Double is just really, really helpful in this deck to be able to go into, because you have all sorts of really, really good plays to be able to throw against your opponent in this deck. Because when you summon the Utopia Double, you're going to be able to detach a material to grab this from your deck to your hand, and then once you grab this from your deck to your hand, you're going to be able to summon out a copy of Utopia on top of the Utopia, the double, and then you're able to pop off by attacking your opponent with a copy of Utopia that you just threw on top of the Utopia double. And basically, it gives you a 10,000 beat stick. So you got to play this for the OTK piece. We then play the same copy of Upstart Goblin. The Upstart Goblin just makes it so you're playing a little bit smaller of a deck, so it helps out a lot in this build. And then we play 3 copies of Fire Formation Tenki to round out the spells. The Fire Formation Tenki lets you add your Beast Warriors from your deck to your hand. And I'm so glad this didn't get hit on the list, because this is a Beast Warrior and it basically lets you play 6 copies of this card, and you need to get to it ASAP. So that's pretty much it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. Like, you're playing like so many monsters. You're playing like 3, 6, 9 spells, and everything else is a monster in the deck. So you're playing like 31 monsters in this build. So, for the extra deck, we're playing 3 copies of Bujin Susano. Susano is really, really good. It has the ability, this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls and once each, and then once per turn, you can detach a material from this card, and then take a Bujin monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. Which is really good, because basically you just detach a material from this card and add Crane from your deck to your hand, and then you can punch through like one good time with a card. And plus, if it's equipped with this and it starts attacking monsters, this card is really good, because this card lets you banish everything that's attacks, and that can be like 5 monsters, which is just really good, that just get banished instantly off your Susano. We then play a single copy of Tsukiyomi. Tsukiyomi is really good because it helps you fix your hand, because it lets you detach a material. You send your entire hand to the graveyard, and then you draw 2, and then when this card you control, or while this card you control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can target level 4 Beast Warrior Bujin monsters in your graveyard up to the number of XZ materials this card had on the field, and special summon those targets, and you only use affect this card once per turn. We then play a single copy of Amaterasu. Amaterasu is really good. You don't summon it all the time, but it's here just in case you want to. It lets you only control one of it, and then once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach a material in this card to apply these effects to be able to, depending on the turn, to be able to target one of your banished level 4 or lower Bujin monsters, special summon that target, or your opponent's turn, you get to target one of your banished level 4 or lower Bujins and add it to your hand. So regardless, you're getting one of your banished Bujins and either putting it on your field or adding it to hand. Play the Utopia double. Kind of explained it a little bit earlier, that you're just kind of using this as a OTK piece for a 10,000 swing. 1 copy of Utopia, because again, you're trying to do it for a 10,000 swing, that you're throwing this on top of the Utopia double when you add the Utopia, or you add the double or nothing from deck to hand, and then you swing at your opponent and detach a material, and then you drop the double or nothing for 10,000 swing at your opponent. We then play a single copy of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Tiger King, because it works really well with Tenki. 1 copy of Baguska, because it can slow down the game a lot. 1 copy of Tornado Dragon, because it can pop spells or traps. Exciton Knight, because it blows board. 1 copy of number 60, because number 60 lets you draw 2 and discard 1, which is really good in this deck. And it's just really good overall. We play a single copy of Zeus, because Zeus can blow board as well. You play a single copy of Pentastag, because it can help with using this, and then basically you can turn Susano into a piercing, where it banishes everything, because you can make this point into the Susano, and then have it with Typhoon equipped to it, and then it basically banishes everything, and it does piercing damage as well, which is really ridiculous. Or you can have it point to your Utopia that's at 10,000, and it does piercing damage as well. And then I play a single copy of the Bujin Link monster. This card comes in handy sometimes to make this particular card, and then when you make this card, it helps out a lot, because you can make another XZ play with it. Now, I will mention, you guys, you can, if you really, really want to, play the copy of the Cyframe Lord Omega. I rarely made it in playtesting. It did not come up the entire time I was playtesting. Out of all the games, I'd never summoned it. I usually just kind of OTK'd. It didn't matter. But you can play it if you want to drop the Exciton Knight over. So you can just go like this, drop the Exciton Knight, and throw it in, because that's what I dropped, or I dropped it for, was the copy of the Exciton Knight, where your extra deck will look either like this or like this. It's kind of up to you. If you want to play the Omega, you can play the Omega. So that is another option for you guys if you want to go that route. Suggest it either way. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to be able to play around with. It's amazing how just one wave of support basically took this entire deck and flipped it on its head. It's really a good deck. Like, it's a really insane OTK deck. As long as you don't get ashed when you have an Omega in hand, you basically just get rid of this card, and then you have the copy of Call by the Grave, or you have the copy of Gamma to stop the ashes for this card, and then you just pop off in this deck. So this deck can be really, really insane. So that's it for the deck, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.